Guten Morgen, or maybe Guten Tag, or maybe even Guten Abend. So let's move on to Kapitel 14, chapter 14.1. And this is coordinating conjunctions, and these are pretty simple. So this first unit will be pretty quick. So we have the exercises from the end of the last chapter, which was the passive. The passive was is a lot harder than the coordinating conjunctions. So get a little break. But let's make sure we got these passive sentences under our belt. So, das Essen wird vom Koch serviert, which is a very simple version of the passive, meaning the meal is served by the cook, or the food is served by the cook / chef. Yeah. So we have das Essen, which is the subject, and then the Essen, the food, is served. So wird serviert means is translated as is served, and then vom Koch is of the chef, but usually by the chef in this case, because when it's a passive, you want to say served by someone. And then we have das Auto wurde vom Mechaniker repariert. So the thing is, we have a simple past werden now. So this first one, it's in the present. Wird is the present conjugation of werden, but wurde is the simple past conjugation of werden. So instead of conjugating it as is plus past participle, we're going to conjugate it as was plus the past participle. So the car was repaired by the mechanic. So it's a very similar sentence, except for now it's in the simple past instead of the present. Das Auto wurde vom Mechaniker repariert. And then, ich wurde nicht eingeladen. So einladen means to invite. So you have to be able to recognize that past participle. We had the separable prefixes not too long ago. And so this one's in the simple past as well. Ich wurde. So we're going to translate it as I was not invited. So I was not, and actually is the same word order. It happens to come out to the same word order. I was not invited. Ich wurde nicht eingeladen. And then we have der Reichstag wurde von der Stadt renoviert. So we have this is simple past again, wurde, and then we've got our past participle at the end. So the Reichstag, I don't really know if there's a good translation is, but it's that building in Berlin with the dome and the mirrors. It's a government building. Was renovated by the city. So was renovated, simple past. Yeah. Das Buch ist von meinem Doktorvater geschrieben worden. So now we have one in the perfect, which is a little stranger. And we have ist, and then past participle, and then worden, which is only a word that you need for the perfect passive. And you just have to sort of memorize that this is the formula for the passive perfect. Ist, and then whatever past participle you need, and then worden. The book was written by my doctoral advisor, Dr. Vater, which is my doctor father, which is the person on the head of your committee, your first reader, you could say, on your committee. And so Dr. Vater and Dr. Mutter is what they are called in German. So the book was written by, it's like has been written by, but it sounds better in this case to say was written by my doctoral advisor. Ist geschrieben worden. And then you could do the same sentence with the simple past. It would be, das Buch wurde von meinem Doktorvater geschrieben. So you just have wurde here, and then geschrieben at the end, and then no worden, and that would be fine as well. They would mean the same thing. Von wem bist du angerufen worden? Which is then, by whom were you called? By whom, dative, and then du is the subject, you, and then this is going to be in the perfect as well. So this one is like ist geschrieben worden, but then, so we're conjugating for das Buch, right? But here we're conjugating for du. Du bist angerufen worden. So by whom were you called? And then you could also do this one in the simple past. It would be, von wem wurdest du angerufen? So both are fine. And so by whom were you called? It makes sense in English. It's a fine sentence. But you should feel the liberty, if you want to change that into an active sentence in English if it feels more natural. Sometimes the passive in English sounds a little weird. It sounds weirder than it does in German. So who called you means the same thing, and you should feel free to do that as well. Die Angestellten wurden zu spät bezahlt, which is the employees were paid too late, late or too late, zu spät. So when Germans say zu spät, a lot of times English speakers would just say late, but then zu spät is like too late, yeah. But anyway, not on time in any case. So the employees, the Angestellten, and then wurden bezahlt. This one's in the simple past, so it's pretty simple, and that's our past participle, bezahlt. Das Stück wurde vom Orchester gespielt. So the piece, it's wird actually, it's the present tense. Das Stück wird vom Orchester gespielt. The piece is played by the orchestra, or you could also do in the present tense, is being played by the orchestra. So that one's present. But you can see is sometimes, just like with any present tense verb, you can do the normal present, which is, or you can do the progressive in English, is being played. That's how that would work in the passive. Okay, so now we have some that are slightly more complicated. Auf der Party wurde geredet, gelacht und getanzt, which is, at the party, people talked, laughed, and danced, but the word people isn't even in here. If you did it super literally, it would be, at the party, it was talked, laughed, and danced, or even the it isn't really there, so it would be, it's just like a placeholder. At the party was talked, laughed, and danced, which is not how an English speaker would talk at all. So you can, I think that people is the best one in this case, but there are probably a couple different ways to do it. But the important thing is to notice that, so I actually made it active here. So people talk, that's active, right? Sometimes you just have to take it out of the passive. Hier wird leise gesprochen. So you could say people speak quietly here, they speak quietly here. Any of those are fine. And then if you wanted to keep the passive, it would be here. It is quietly spoken, but that doesn't sound like good English. So beim Frühstück wird gelesen. We read at breakfast. We people read at breakfast. At breakfast, it is read is really the most direct translation, but doesn't sound great in English. In Scotland wird Whisky getrunken. In Scotland, people drink whiskey. In Scotland, whiskey is drunk. That one sounds more okay than the other ones. Whiskey is drunk in Scotland. It's all right, but I think that in Scotland they drink whiskey. Sounds better. Mir wurde gesagt, dass ich 10 Uhr ankommen soll. So this one's quite complicated. So we learned that actually, if we're dealing with a dative, with an indirect object, instead of making it a subject, we're going to just maintain that dative case. So it's like, it was said to me, and mir is going to stay in the dative. We're not going to change it to ich. So that's why it's mir. And then in the translation, you have to say, I was told. It's like saying, to me was told. But of course, I was told is how it really works in English. And then this is just that I should arrive at 10. So to me it was said, but then I was told sounds better. Or you could, it was said to me. That actually sounds pretty good too. It was said to me. Doesn't sound quite as good as I was told though. Yeah. Den Hotelgästen wurde nicht geholfen. So no one helped the hotel guests. The hotel guests were not helped. So you see, helfen requires geholfen here, which comes from helfen. That requires a dative object. So that's why we have this dative plural happening here. Den Hotelgästen, help was not provided to the hotel guests. So here I have the active version, no one helped, because we have the negative, they were not helped, right? So you could actually make that into no one helped the hotel guests. Or the hotel guests were not helped. I think both of those are fine. Der Tisch muss noch gedeckt werden. This one is a little more straightforward. It's got a modal verb though, so maybe a little tricky. The table still has to be set, or the table must still be set. I think has to sounds a little better, but I think those are both all right. So must be set. Die Wand musste neu gestrichen werden. The wall had to be painted again. Painted anew, which is the neu meaning new, but it again is really had to be painted anew, as in again. Die Wand, so the wall, And then musste, had to, that's our simple past of the modal verb had to. And then gestrichen werden is then be painted. And then again. Okay, so hopefully those are starting to make sense. Sometimes it takes a while to absorb those. But let's do coordinating conjunctions. These are words that you've probably seen, at least und you've seen probably a lot of times already. And so this is just to go over them and to show how they work, but they are not going to really introduce anything new. It's just to be aware of what these coordinating conjunctions are. So they are used to connect two independent clauses. Independent clauses, also known as main clauses, are complete on their own and have normal word order. This is what you think of as a normal sentence, independent clause, a main clause. So, meine Schwester hat mich angerufen und wir haben über unsere Pläne für das Wochenende gesprochen, which is, my sister called me. So, meine Schwester hat mich angerufen, my sister called me. Und, and, wir haben über unsere Pläne für das Wochenende gesprochen. We talked about our plans for the weekend. So this is nothing too tricky going on, right? Und is and you combine them the same way you would in English. Independent clause, und, and then another independent clause. And so there's nothing, see, wir haben gesprochen, the word order hasn't changed in this, so it's fine. And then, wir wollten den neuen Joker-Film sehen, aber wir hatten nicht so viel Zeit, which is, we wanted to see the new Joker movie, but we didn't have very much time. So wir wollten, this is simple past, right? This whole story is in the past. So we just have our first independent clause, and then aber, meaning but, and then we have another independent clause. So this one could stand alone if you wanted to say like, wir hatten nicht so viel Zeit, we didn't have very much time. It's fine, it's a normal sentence. Wir wollten den Joker-Film sehen, denn soll sehr gut sein, which is, we wanted to see the new Joker movie, or just the Joker movie, there's no new in there, because it's supposed to be very good. So denn means because, it's one of the words for because. There's another one, weil, which we will do in the next unit that goes over the subordinating conjunctions. So both denn and weil are two words for because, but and the meaning is the same, but grammatically they make different things happen. So for now, just think about denn, meaning because, and it doesn't do anything fancy. All you have to do is say denn, and then this is soll sehr gut sein, which is just, it's supposed to be very good. It should be very good. Yeah. Meine Schwester hat gesagt, my sister said, wir können den Film am Samstag sehen oder vielleicht warten wir bis nächstes Wochenende. So there's the oder meaning or. My sister said, we can see the movie on Saturday or maybe we'll wait until next weekend. Oder combines these two independent clauses. Wir haben den Film nicht am Samstag gesehen, sondern am Sonntag. So you can say nicht, sondern to emphasize not this, but this, and you can optionally say but rather. It can be but rather or just but. We saw the film not on Saturday, nicht am Samstag, but rather on Sunday, sondern am Sonntag. Yeah. So coordinating conjunctions, they can also connect two nouns, two verbs, two adjectives, two prepositional phrases. That's actually what we're doing here. Not on Saturday, prepositional phrase. And then, but rather, on Sunday, another prepositional phrase. So they can combine independent clauses or just two nouns, verbs, any other sentence elements. So, for example, meine Lieblingsschauspieler sind Joaquin Phoenix und Rooney Mara. My favorite actors are Joaquin Phoenix and Rooney Mara. So it's very straightforward, same as in English. And then they can also do something like, man kann die Kartoffeln anbraten oder im Ofen backen. You can fry the potatoes or bake them in the oven. Yeah, so you see we have, it's like two phrases here. Die Kartoffeln anbraten, you fry the potatoes. So it's like fry the potatoes. So it's like a phrase where you have a verb and a direct object. And then you can combine another phrase that has a verb and a prepositional phrase. So, and then kann applies to both of these infinitives. You can fry or you can bake. Ja. Man kann die Kartoffeln anbraten oder im Ofen backen. You can fry the potatoes or bake them in the oven. Yeah. The them, so you don't have to, it's interesting that you have to put the them in English there. In German, it just kind of, die Kartoffeln is still there. Yeah. Okay, so coordinating conjunctions are not really tricky. They work basically the same as English, so it's just a matter of knowing what these words mean. Und, aber, denn, oder, nicht, sondern. Just got to recognize their meanings. They don't change the word order of anything around them. They don't grammatically change anything. In the next unit, however, we will do subordinating conjunctions, and these are what you call verb kickers. They kick the verb to the end of the clause. So the whole point of talking about coordinating conjunctions is to note that they don't change the word order in order to prepare for subordinating conjunctions, which are words that they seem similar, they have similar functions, but grammatically they change things. So let's look at the coordinating conjunctions. These are the main ones I was just showing you. Und, aber, denn, oder, nicht, sondern. Those are the most common ones, but there are a few more, and they'll work in a very similar way. So once you've learned their meanings, they present no special problem. So, aber, but, forever, but, however, allein, meaning but or only. Allein really means alone. So it's in some cases it can be translated as but or only. You can think of it as like let alone this, right? You can combine things with let alone. So allein is alone, but you can say but or only. It's a little bit tricky. You have to see examples to see exactly how that's used. And then denn means since, because, for meaning because, and then it sounds a little archaic in English to use for as because, but sometimes it's used. But it all means because. And then entweder oder is a useful one, either or, and it works the same as nicht sondern, because it's a two-parter. And then vielmehr, meaning rather, yeah, that's another one for rather. And then jedoch, however, oder sondern, but rather. So usually it's usually called nicht sondern. They didn't put the nicht here, but it's usually shown as a unit. And then und, the easiest one probably. And then weder noch, neither nor. Yeah, so entweder oder, and then weder noch. Those two kind of go together. Okay, so independent clauses, which are just normal sentences, connected by coordinating conjunctions, demonstrate independent word order. Just nothing has been changed. Normal word order. No change from the occurrence of a coordinating conjunction. So if you, a couple chapters ago, we had this formula of the word order, depending on what elements you have. So you can have, die Fahrt nach Griechenland war schön und die Ausgrabung soll nächste Woche in Athen anfangen. The trip to Greece was lovely. There's that. Die Fahrt nach Griechenland war schön. And the excavation, I guess one difference is in English we would typically add a comma before starting another independent clause. And in German you don't. German has different comma rules than English. And in this case, there wouldn't be a comma there. Yeah. Und die Ausgrabung soll nächste Woche in Athen anfangen. So you see, here's the subject, the Ausgrabung, the digging out, the excavation. And then soll is your conjugated verb. In the second position, it's totally normal. Entweder die Firma sagt den Arbeitern höhere Löhne zu. Yeah, oh, this is zusagen. See how you can start, if you start the sentence and you're like, sagt, okay, so the company says something, and then you keep going and you're like, I don't think something is being said, I think something else is happening. And then zu, you realize that zu is actually a prefix that belongs on that verb, and it really is zusagen, which means to promise. Yeah. So, oder die Arbeiter werden streiken. So, entweder either the company promises the workers higher wages, or the workers will strike. So you can see that's a whole sentence, and then another whole sentence you can connect with entweder oder. Die Gewerkschaft erklärte ihre Position, aber die Firma sieht die Lage anders. So 2 whole sentences. The union explained its position. That's a whole sentence. And then aber, add another whole sentence. Die Firma sieht die Lage anders. Yeah. Okay, sondern follows a negative. That's why it's usually nicht, sondern. And it's, you can say, but rather, on the contrary is another good translation, yeah. Die Gemälde ist nicht von Monet, sondern von Manet. Yeah. So the painting is not by Monet, but rather by Manet. Yeah. Unsere Einrichtung ist kein Museum, sondern es ist ein Institut für bildende Kunst. Our establishment or institution is another good word for Einrichtung. Our institution, our establishment, is not a museum, kein Museum, sondern, on the contrary, but rather, it is an institute of fine arts. Yeah. Oh, I see. This is why institut is another word for institute, obviously. So that's why this translator chose establishment, because then you're not repeating the word institute twice. It's very clever. Current punctuation rules call for a comma preceding opposing conjunctions, aber, allein, jedoch, sondern, vielmehr. So you see, we didn't have one a moment ago when we looked at und, but then we do have it here with sondern. So if it's like saying something opposing, but rather, yet, and this one's also rather. So if it's expressing something opposite or a contrast, then there is a comma. But then these other ones like und, then you don't have it. Yeah. In older German texts, it's also possible to encounter commas separating other, coordinating conjunctions. So, like every language, the punctuation and spelling rules do change over time. So now we have that one exercise to practice those. Just a few sentences to get you a little more comfortable with the coordinating conjunctions. And then we will move on in the next unit. So, viel Spaß, have lots of fun with those sentences und wir sehen uns im nächsten Video. Tschüss, bis bald.